All right, all right, all right. Here I come, folks. That sounds crazy, don't it? Here I come, folks. What's happening, guys? What's happening, guys? Just clowning, having some, foolery. As I was allowing the transition here in the stream to start, I just wanted to see if you guys could hear me. I think y'all did. But what's going on, man? Welcome, 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 guys, to the latest and greatest episode of Terrible Towel Tuesday. I am your host, SimFBallCritic, live from the still basement, a bright still basement. Hold on, man. Quite bright. Quite bright. I think there we go. There we go. But what's happening, man? How's everybody doing? How's it going? Hope everybody is well. Hope you're having a wonderful Tuesday. And y'all know the routine. You know what type of time I've been on, guys, during this slow period. I try to get in and out. So I'm going to get right to it. I'm not wasting no time tonight. Not a whole lot to talk about. I just pulled a few things together. We'll talk a little bit about Ben Roethlisberger. We'll talk a little bit about the Steelers might be back in pursuit for a tight end, given the news from Darnell. Is it Darnell or Daryl? Darnell Parham, I think it's Darnell, I believe. And also, we'll talk a little bit about, man, I'll talk a little bit about Holcomb. It's just, one person that I don't want to miss. I think I've talked about this before, but I don't want to miss, I want to elaborate or at least give my opinion on some of the unspoken additions that the Steelers will get back, whether that's free agent or somebody returning from injury. So I definitely want to address that. Let's get to it. Let's say hello to the early commenters. Hold on. Let's get to them. Hold on. Early commenters in the building. My man Y Diggy is in the building. Hello, Lanisha, the lovely Lanisha. I don't think I saw you last time, Lanisha, so I'm glad to see you back. Hope everything is well. You know how faithful Lanisha is. I know if she's not available, there's a reason. And I don't expect any of you guys to watch every show, but, some of y'all have become routine. Some of you guys are extended family. So I'm always going to, acknowledge you. So hello, Lanisha. Fellas, y'all know the routine, man. For our lovely ladies of Still a Nation, roll out that red carpet. Make sure you are saying hello to the lovely ladies. Who else we got up in here? Lee Sharp is in the building. Joe Murdy is in the building. Stiller Cards in the building. Crazy Ron Gaming is in the building. My good brother Kenyon is in the building. Andre Coleman and Aaron Morris. Both of those good brothers are in the building. Rod Dilla in the building. What's up, Rod? Who else is up in here, man? Who else? Ezekiel 2517 is in the building. My good brother Daron with the new baby boy is in the building as well. And brother man to you is in the building. So let's get right to it, guys. Let's get right to it. Like I said, we don't have much to get into, so these shows are more like quick hits. And I would probably say until training camp, right? We're not going to have much to talk about until training camp. So first thing I want to talk about really, really, really quick. Unfortunately, guys, if you have not heard, bad news in terms of OTAs. Training camp hasn't even started yet, but we already have an injury that is, I would say, significant. Some of you guys might not feel like it's that significant, but I would say it is absolutely significant. Hold on, guys. Also, give me a second. Hold on. I meant to check this earlier, man, with my microphone. Hold on. I think I may have figured out why it peaks sometimes when I speak loudly. So I'm going to try something here. Y'all let me know if it continues to cut out as I talk loudly. If it cuts out, y'all let me know if it does, because I'm testing something. But yeah. Perhaps Daron. We'll see. Perhaps. I did a live game stream the other night. So if you haven't caught it, you can catch the replay. But anyway, Donald, not Darnell, Donald. And y'all know I like to be official. Let me change that in the description. I got him listed as Darnell, but it's Donald Parham, guys. Unfortunately, Donald Parham, sources are saying that Donald Parham Jr. suffered a torn Achilles during today's OTAs that now is likely to end his season. And Adam Schefter writes, a brutal injury. And let me explain to you guys why it is a little brutal. Perhaps. You guys know Arthur Smith's scheme. We know that Arthur Smith likes to run 12 personnel, which is 2 tight ends. 13 even, which is 3 tight ends. In case you guys don't remember the roster, obviously you know Pat Fryermuth, you know Darnell Washington. A lot of us want to see more from Darnell Washington. A lot of us are hopeful or hoping that we utilize Darnell Washington more with his physical size and stature. Hopefully we utilize him more as a threat in the middle of the field in short yardage situations. And when I mean short yardage, I'm talking about like goal line. But is Darnell Washington necessarily the well-rounded tight end at the moment? I think he might be on his way, but clearly the Steelers need someone else with that type of capability, right? You saw even last year, we were using MyCole Pruitt as being another big guy that can, maybe have some possession catches for you and block. Connor Haywood is not that guy. He's not a traditional tight end. So I think the Steelers absolutely would want to go into the season with at least 3 tight end body type likes, right? So with Donald Parham going down, it opens the door to my very next topic, which is basically the same topic. We heard last week that the Steelers may have been in the market to trade for Jonnu Smith. Now, I want to remind you guys that Jonnu Smith is very familiar with Arthur Smith, right? Played for him in Tennessee. He would fit what we're doing. If you paid attention to Jonnu Smith, what he did while he was with the Dolphins, he's become more of a receiver tight end, right? A big guy, but more of that, receiver build, receiver quickness, if you will. A threat, not only just down the field, but a threat across the middle, a threat on a slant. Jonnu Smith, the way he was playing for Tua, could be a serious threat. Kenyon and I even actually spoke and said that Kenyon mentioned perhaps, if you get a guy like that, does that kind of, take place of the number 2 receiver, if you will, right? So then it seems like the reports came out that those talks stopped, but obviously now Adam Schefter as well is reporting that the Steelers are back in play with a potential trade for Jonnu Smith. Now the caveats are at least from last week that Jonnu would prefer to, he would like to stay in Miami. He wants a contract to be reworked. So it makes me wonder how that component would work. What would the compensation be? Would the Steelers take on the contract fully? Are they looking to restructure it? A lot of questions. But I wanted to bring it up because, guys, I think clearly Jonnu Smith now or some other tight end is definitely on the Steelers' radar. Since we had already heard that there was talks between the Steelers and the Dolphins prior to today's injuries, and now they're saying it's picking back up. Keep a close eye out on that. The Steelers could very well be in the market, and they may trade for Jonnu Smith. So my question would be to you guys in the chat, guys and gals, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about potentially the Steelers acquiring Jonnu Smith? I know everybody's going to have their own opinions as far as what the compensation should be and is going to be and yada, yada, yada. I'm just talking about in theory. I'll go first. I don't have a problem with acquiring Jonnu Smith, especially after really watching some of the things that he did with the Dolphins. I know he can block. I don't know how great of a blocker he is, but I would say he would fit the scheme. he's already played within the scheme in Tennessee. And like I said, man, he's become more of one of those like matchup nightmares, right? You know, he's not just the big, bulky tight end. He's not a Darnell Washington in that regard as far as just a big guy. No, he has size, but he's more of a receiver build. So again, looking at how that kid played while with the Dolphins, I have zero exception to them acquiring, you know, Jonnu Smith. And, you know, whatever the compensation is going to be is going to be. I mean, I don't think they would have to acquire him for anything crazy, but I'm cool. I'm cool. So let me see what you guys think. Brother man, to you, Parham tore his Achilles today. Those are the reports. Steeler Card says he's fine with Jonnu Smith as long as it's a day 3 pick. Okay, he's putting compensation on it. Kenya says Arthur Smith needs 3 tight ends to be effective. I would agree with that. Why Diggy says, I don't mind it if the price is right, draft capital wise. I'm with you there. Joe Murdy says, I think it might end up being a good fit for them. He did really look good with the Dolphins and Tua. He did, man. He did. He had some moments with them. Steeler Cards, I'm going to get there in just a moment. As far as Gabe, Dark Storm says it depends on what we give up for Smith. I'm with you there. Can we get Gabe Davis and Smith? Well, Gabe is a different question. That's not a trade or anything. So I'm about to talk about that as well. Ezekiel says, Ben is an overrated bum. We have Connor, Moof, D-Wash. We good. Okay. So he's talking about Ben, and then he's going into some other guys. Okay. All right. Connor, Moof, and D. Washington. No, listen, I like Connor Haywood, but Connor Haywood isn't the answer, guys, when we're talking about pure tight end. Utilizing him often as a tight end. Just think about our scheme. I'm not talking about Connor Haywood's skill or anything like that. I'm just talking about the scheme that the Steelers are running with Arthur Smith. Connor Haywood doesn't really fit into that mode. Let's say 70% of the snaps. He just doesn't. I think there's some things you could do with Connor Haywood, absolutely, and maybe we should utilize that a bit more. But he is simply just not that. And again, we saw it last year. You know, again, you saw Washington, you saw Muth, and you even saw Cole Pruitt more when he wasn't injured than you saw Connor Haywood. So, you know, I always speak from logistics, scheme perspective, not just player and talent. You understand what I mean? Kenya says he failed his physical with the 49ers, Giants, Jaguars. Davis has. Ooh, okay. Ooh. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. So that makes me question that a little bit as well. Well, let's move on to that topic, shall we? The next topic that I had to talk about. Let me get to my notes. Hold on, guys. Hold on. I definitely wanted to talk about Gabe Davis as well. They said the Steelers will be meeting with Gabe Davis on Thursday. Now, given this information that Kenyon just gave us, I wasn't aware of his failed physicals. Listen, whatever the Steelers can do to bring in another big body guy that can make plays downfield, make combat catches, speed to get downfield, taking the top off of the defense. We know that well as he took the top off of our defense. You guys remember that play. I'm all for it. Listen, we have DK Metcalf, right? And it's interesting because I saw somebody say when I was just looking on X, I saw not even somebody, it was one of the beat writers saying, yes, you know, the Steelers need a big play receiver. They don't have it currently. What? Now, I don't know if they meant just opposite DK Metcalf, but the way they phrased it, they said the Steelers don't have a big play receiver downfield. And I'm like, okay, you're completely discounting DK Metcalf. So clearly there was some words missing in that article, or clearly, it was clickbaity. But I would say this, you have DK Metcalf. So anything that you can get opposite of him that could be, taking the top off the defense is going to serve us well. Because again, that was George Pickens. Remember, in the Steeler uniform, we hadn't seen George Pickens run too many routes as far as route tree. We've seen him in the offseason. He's been working with the route guard and people like that to try to, put more tools in his bag. But I'm talking about as a Steeler, what we were excited to see if it would have happened is DK Metcalf and George Pickens just, attempting to take the top off the defense, or in George Pickens' case, just being a combat catcher and having two of those guys, one opposite the other. So that is what a guy like Gabe Davis could bring to the table if healthy. If healthy. That's key, that if he failed those physicals. So I don't have a problem with that. I saw somebody in the chat say, hey, throw the league minimum at him. I agree with that. If Gabe has failed physicals, I think it's that clearly puts the Steelers in the driver's seat in terms of negotiation, right? And if you're talking league minimum, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to kick the tires, but I do wonder what he's failing for. I don't know what his past injury was, but I mean, to fail a physical with 3 teams is interesting, to say the least. I would say this as well. It makes me wonder how the Steelers, and I'm just talking about the organization. I'm talking about not the organization, but let's just say scouts, Tomlin, Omar Khan. It makes me wonder what type of things or how they evaluate some of these other receivers who are free agents. If I'm not mistaken, a DJ Chark guy like that is still a free agent. I think Amari Cooper is still a free agent. And I'm just throwing some names out there. It makes me wonder how they value some of those guys, and, what would be the motive behind bringing a Gabe Davis in versus one of those guys? Is it cost efficiency? Is it what you're planning to do? Obviously it's scheme, but it definitely makes me feel like a guy like Chark, unless Chark got signed, I don't think he did, but it makes me feel like a guy like Chark could kind of give you the same thing that a Gabe Davis could potentially give you. So the question is, what do they see in Davis having failed physicals over a guy like DJ Chark? Is it a personality thing? So this is the reason, guys, why you never hear me say, oh, the organization is stupid. And we don't know. We don't know all the details. You have to trust that these people are professionals. They've done their homework, and once you take your emotion out of it and you start seeing it a little more clear, right? So just my opinion right there. So we'll see. We'll see how that works out. Hopefully Roman Wilson also, they're saying he's looking good and looking healthy. So we'll see, guys. And listen, I don't have much to say until we see it in action, until we start hearing things in training camp, until we start seeing a little bit in preseason. And then I can start formulating my opinion of what I think the team could potentially be. And then y'all know, long term, I don't know what the team is until after game number 6 is usually when I have a good grasp of who it is. We don't even know who the starting QB is today. So I'm not going to sit here and overanalyze anything on June 3rd. But those are just my quick thoughts on that. Next up, really quick, guys. Steeler Card says it was a torn meniscus he had in November. Okay, talking about Gabe Davis. So that's an interesting one. Next up, really quick, before I get to the last topic, man, I just wanted to give some shine, man, and just some recognition. And by the way, let's not forget, they said Cole Holcomb is looking healthy out there. We've seen a little bit of footage of him moving around. And same thing with Roman Wilson. We've seen him moving around. It looks like he's not having any, negative effects, in shorts. But when you have leg injuries, it's good to just see how can they move in shorts, right? One could argue it's good to see that over in pads. And the reason why I say that, with leg or lower body injuries, you're moving your fastest in shells, right? And just in theory, you're never going to move as fast as you would in shorts in pads, right? So it is value to me to see a guy coming off of a foot injury, leg injury, knee injury, hip injury, whatever it is, lower body, see how he's moving in shorts. And both of those guys are looking like there's no ramifications. So I want us to not forget that the Steelers might have a sneaky good trio at inside linebacker, right? We all know what the Steelers have already at outside linebacker, and even adding a Jack Sawyer to that three-man rotation. Now you have four guys that could potentially be capable. I'm sure Jack Sawyer will get some snaps, but again, he has the opportunity to sit behind TJ, Highsmith, and Herbig. And I'm not going to talk about TJ's contract and all that right now. Not right now. Again, it's too early for me to get into all of that. But sneaky good inside linebacker group, man, if you reinsert Cole Holcomb, right? You have Patrick Queen as well as Peyton Wilson, who you would expect. You would like to see the second year jump. But speaking of Patrick Queen, man, I like what he said. Let me see if I can find the quote, man. Patrick Queen recently said, he says, I got to be who they paid me to be. I like that because it makes me feel like, self-awareness is the best awareness, right? And I'm hoping that is not just lip service, and it is him really saying, I got to be better. I got to be who they paid me to be. Patrick Queen had some up and down moments last season. I think he started to be more up as the season progressed, right? So, again, I think going into this season, we have a potentially sneaky good three-man, three-headed monster at inside linebacker. And I'm here for that. So definitely wanted to talk about that. Last but not least, guys, let's get into my final topic. And then I'm going to dive right into the comments and chat it up with y'all for a few moments. Big Ben Roethlisberger. Oh, Big Ben Roethlisberger, man. Just in case you guys are unaware, more of Big Ben being passive aggressive. Let me find the actual quote. Hold on. I'm going to tell y'all what I'm talking about, man. Let me pull up the article because I don't want to misquote him. But it's funny that he's basically saying what I talked about last week and how I feel bad about Mason Rudolph. Feel bad for Mason Rudolph because he's just had to go through it. And we all know that when he was drafted, and even throughout his tenure with Ben, it wasn't the greatest. It really wasn't the greatest relationship. And again, Ben on his podcast, footballing with his buddy Spencer. This is what Ben Roethlisberger had to say about Mason Rudolph. And again, it's going to echo what I said last week, but here it is. He says, when they drafted Mason, I made comments about, and I don't even remember my comments. This is a quote. He says, I made comments about, and I don't even remember my comments. There you go. He says, but it was like, why did we draft Mason? It wasn't a shot at Mason. I didn't have a problem with Mason. They could have drafted Patrick Mahomes, whoever. It wasn't a shot at the person. It was how are we making our team better by drafting the guy in the third round. This is what he said. This is what Mason Rudolph had to say. Let me read it to y'all again because I don't want y'all to miss it. Again, this is Big Ben Roethlisberger. When they drafted Mason, I made comments about, and I don't even remember my comments. But it was like, why did we draft Mason? It wasn't a shot at Mason. I didn't have a problem with Mason. They could have drafted Patrick Mahomes. Whoever. It wasn't a shot at the person. It was a shot at basically the decision of how is it making the team better. Now, I want you guys to remember, man, if I have my facts right, Mason Rudolph was drafted in 2017, right? Do you guys remember Ben's last season? Who was the first one? I'm just going to have a little fun here in the chat. Who was the first person that could tell me the year that Ben Roethlisberger retired? When was Ben's last? When was his last season with the Pittsburgh Steelers? Once the first person answers that, I will continue. But if I'm not mistaken, Rudolph was drafted in 2017. Ben Roethlisberger, some of you guys are saying 2020, some are saying 2019, some are saying 2021. I think it was the 2020 season, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody fact check that. I think Ben Roethlisberger retired after the 2020 season, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody says Rudolph was drafted in 2018. Okay, even better. 2021? Okay, yeah, you guys are right. I think you're right because Kenny, I think Kenny was drafted in 2021, so that would make sense. Then look, somebody else is saying 2022. But I think it was and I'm not talking about the calendar year, I'm talking about the season year. So I think why Diggy is right on the money. I want to say Ben Roethlisberger retired in 2021. Oh, Kenny was drafted in 22. Okay, so maybe I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out who has it, who don't have it. And didn't we wait? Now, so now, hold on, guys, hold on, y'all. Let y'all answer this question for me, because it's all a blur. Did we draft Rudolph? Did we draft Kenny Pickett the same year Ben retired? Did we? I can't remember if we drafted Rudolph. I keep saying Rudolph. I can't remember if we drafted Kenny Pickett that following draft. Somebody help me out. Kenny was drafted after Ben retired. Right, but it was the following draft. Okay, got it. All right, so let's give it. In that case, Ben Roethlisberger must have played his last season in 2021 and then officially over in 2022. You know how that goes. Even better. So if Mason Rudolph was drafted in 2018, I'm going to take you guys' word for it. The article said 17, but I think it was 18. You were already on the tail end of your career, sir. I understand you saying, oh, how does that help the team? But again, a self-aware player, and I'm not just blaming Ben for this because a lot of quarterbacks do this, but the best players know when the knocking is on the door. Father Time is knocking. And the best players, the best team players understand the business. You know that your leash, or not even your leash, let's say the duration of your career is coming to an end. So you should understand why a team would draft a QB in the third round, mind you. They didn't draft a guy in the first round that was obviously your replacement. So for you to have that problem in 2018 and you end up playing your last season in 2021, come on, Ben. This is what I'm saying. And I love Ben Roethlisberger, the player. I love what he did for the Steelers, but y'all know, for you guys who've been watching me for several years, y'all know I've been saying year after year how often I said Ben Roethlisberger is passive aggressive, and most of y'all know that. The way he would like slightly throw players under the bus and or coaches in a passive aggressive way, that's just who he is. And he doubled down on it on this most recent podcast and said, look, here's where it's passive aggressive. I don't care if it was Patrick Mahomes. Dog, you gonna name arguably the best quarterback in the league, one of course. And Patrick Mahomes, three-time Super Bowl champion Patrick Mahomes. Stop it, man. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And like I said, again, maybe that's the selfish side of it being a player that he's saying, look, that didn't help the team. But I got to get at Ben, because regardless of how you felt, it was clear that you didn't have a relationship with Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph felt that. Mason Rudolph said as much after Ben retired. And Ben, that's just not the way you do it, man. At that time, you had already been with the team 16 years, brother. Or 15. If we got our math right. Well, maybe 14. But either way, you had already been there, let's say 14 years. Have won 2 Super Bowls. Like, come on, now it's time for you to welcome the changing of the guard. Nobody was kicking you out the door. But you gotta be able to pass the torch if you care about the organization. If this is the guy that they felt like, let's get this dude in the 3rd round, we got, at that time, Colbert said they had a 1st round grade on him. They got him in the 3rd. You gotta be able to be there to be a helping hand. You know he's not taking your job. Not right then. You know if you've been Roethlisberger, you still are going to be able to retire when you're ready. There was no threat, but you could have been a good teammate. Instead, you put homie to the side. And again, I'm going to read it to y'all again for those in the people in the back. Listen to this. When they drafted Mason, I have made comments about, and I don't remember my comments. He don't remember the comments. But it was like, why did we draft Mason? It wasn't a shot at Mason. I didn't have a problem with Mason. They could have drafted Patrick Mahomes, whoever. It wasn't a shot at the person. It was, how are we making our team better by drafting a guy in the 3rd round? I rest my case. I have nothing else to say. My boy doubled down on it. He doubled down on it. If he didn't really feel like that, he could have very easily have said, listen, that first part, I said some things then. I don't really know what my comments were, man, but it probably wasn't the right thing to say at the time. I apologize for him. And go that route. Instead, you rehash still questions, how does it make the team better? Come on, Ben, man. Ben crazy, man. But, hey, shout-outs to Big Ben Roethlisberger. Like I said, Ben will always have a place in my heart, man, for who he was on the field, his toughness, allowed me to see 2 championships with my own eyes. Nobody played Ben ball like Ben played Ben ball, so I'm never going to take any of that away. But again, I got to poke fun at Ben and his passive-aggressive ways, man. So crazy. But what y'all got, man, that's it as far as my comments, man. So I'll sit here. And read some comments and have fun with you guys for a little bit. Yeah, Mark Cunningham is absolutely correct. He says Favre did the same to Rodgers, though. Yeah, he did. And the interesting difference is Aaron Rodgers was drafted in the 1st round. So you clearly knew that was your replacement, right? And that's the part where I laugh at Ben. The Steelers even did you a solid by taking him in the 3rd. So you knew there was no immediate threat. And yeah, Favre showed out also, which is the reason why indirectly we can blame Brett Favre for the Steelers losing that Super Bowl against Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers was playing for more than just, you know what I mean? More than just that Super Bowl ring. It was to earn that respect and to show everybody and to show Brett Favre why he was drafted. So having that added fire to it, because I'm telling you, I ain't never seen Aaron Rodgers more accurate than that season. Lord have mercy. So thanks very much, Brett Favre. What else y'all got? Joe Murdy says, agreed, not taking anything away from the player. Yeah, not taking nothing away from Ben Roethlisberger, the player, man. Kenyon says, Terry Bradshaw didn't get the treatment Ben received. TB got benched multiple times by Noel, and Bradshaw was the number one pick. Very good point there, brother. Lanisha says, Ben saying he doesn't remember his comments is like me saying, I don't know. I don't know. Remember my name. Yeah, man. Again, Lanisha just being his passive aggressive self. I said some things, I don't really remember what I said, but, man, Ben, if you don't go somewhere, man. Brother man says, Favre did some petty stuff to Rodgers, which is where he gets it from. Yeah, he did. Favre did. CT says, Ben was gaslighting with his comments. Yeah, man, Ben got to stop, man. Ezekiel says, Ben was not he says, Ben was not so lean turnover machine in the playoffs. He was. I like the way this phonetic spelling of this name, but I'm gonna say it in a clean way, man. Just only because I try to keep it clean in case the kids are watching. But I'm gonna say, had das soul. Now y'all read that. I know what he's trying to say, and I love that. I love that name. But he says, just with the motorcycle accident and this modern era of social media, people would be questioning his head. Yeah, that's true. You are true about that. Renegade Dre says, Steelers should have won that Super Bowl. Pouncey getting hurt and Mendenhall fumbling. Yeah, man, Mendenhall. I see why Diggy mentioned it too. Oh, man. It's one of the reasons why, oh, God. I just hate, I hate the very mention of Mendenhall. And even kind of how Mendenhall has acted post-Steeler. She's just not one of my favorites. Absolutely not. Walter Worthy said, Mendenhall's a bum, but he wasn't the one that made that first snap. True. What else y'all got? Keep it coming, guys. What else y'all want to talk about? Well, I'll stick around for a few more minutes. What else y'all got? Anything else? Anything else? Sonny Rothmiller says, the Steelers took Terrell Edmonds over Lamar Jackson in 2018. Again, I've said this before, and I will stick to this. This is just my opinion. "31 teams didn't pick Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson it just didn't fit the mold of what the Steelers were doing. It's that simple. So I don't look at the Steelers as, oh, they passed on Lamar Jackson. Nobody expected Lamar Jackson to be what we saw in Lamar Jackson last season. Nobody did. Ozzie Newsome, salute and shout outs to him for being like, you know what? I'm going to take a chance. I traded back in and got him at 32. Shout outs to him for having the insight. But again, for us to just point the finger at Kevin Colbert and company and say the Steelers, it wasn't, listen, other teams passed on him too. But again, if you remember from last week, if you were here, Sonny, my opinion is the miss is taking Edmonds over Jesse Bates. That's why I feel like it was a miss. And I understand Bates is more of a free versus a strong. But given the fact of who was playing free safety for us at the time, we didn't have a ball hawk in the secondary at the time. I think if I had to poke fun at that, I'm looking at the Steelers and saying, why did you take Terrell Edmonds over Jesse Bates? Again, a lot of y'all know the story. My wife's cousin was his agent at the time. I talked to him. He even told me, he said, yeah, man, I thought we really thought Steelers were in play when the Steelers pick came up. They had visited with the Steelers. That was the miss. More so than saying they missed on Lamar Jackson, because it's not fair to say. It's not fair to say because so many other teams, you know. Let's see. Absolutely hindsight, Kenyon. Exactly. And again, I'm not picking on you, Sonny. You know that. I'm just giving my opinion as in real time when you guys mention it. So again, all of y'all know that, but I have to say this for the new people who are here. Nothing that I say is ever criticizing, bashing, debating anybody's opinion. I'm just responding with an opinion. That's it. Respect every opinion. Renegade Dre said this is all Tomlin's fault. 412 Born and Raised says, who was better than Ben since Bradshaw? Nobody. You talk about just Steeler history? We talking Steeler history, that ain't even a question. What else y'all got? The Joker 811 says, thought on Madden 26. Too early for that. The reveal is tomorrow. But yeah, I'm not going to get into that right here. I will say this for you guys that know, I'm hearing some really good things about it. I mean, outside of some of the stuff that the people who have had a chance to see it are saying online. But again, y'all know I'm still plugged in. Yeah, I got some information. I'm not going to say the information I have, nor am I going to say the source. But if what I'm hearing is true, I am really surprised at what I'm hearing overall in multiple areas of the game. And I'm like, bruh, wow. Never seen anything quite like this if this all comes to fruition. I've never seen a cycle quite like that. Where if all of the stuff that I've been hearing is happening, I have never seen that happen in one gaming cycle. So we'll see. I'll leave it at that. Positive. Absolutely positive. I'll just say this. I have been told by reliable sources that I will be blown away. Me. So we'll leave it at that. I'm leaving it there because, again, y'all, I'm a real one. You know, some information that I get from people, they give it to me because I can hold that. You know what I mean? So don't ask no questions. Don't ask no questions. I'll be able to comment when things are revealed, and we'll go from there. And I'm always going to hold judgment, reserve judgment until I see things for myself, right? Even though these are very reliable sources, I still have to see for myself. What else y'all got? Y'all talking about the finals. I don't know, Ezekiel. Let me say this. I'll say this really quick, because I don't mind chopping it up about other stuff if we don't have nothing else to talk about. I'll stick around a few more minutes. I like SGA a lot. I really do. I know some people, this is not a direct comparison, but he's almost getting the LeBron type hate from a lot of people. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm seeing people criticizing him for flopping it. Dog, they all do it. Like, some of the stuff that you criticize these modern day players for doing, they all do it in this era. So I'm getting away from comparing dudes from the back in the day. Yes, I was fortunate to see some of the golden era of the NBA. My golden era was the 90s. It's mine. Some people would say they preferred the 80s and 70s, but that wasn't my era. My golden era of when I was really watching ball and was the 90s. You know, I got to see Mike in that era, the 90s through the early 2000s. You know, yes, it's not the same as it was then, right? But I don't compare play. I just don't, man. Like, I hate the LeBron and Jordan. Like, stop, man. And I'm not telling people to do what you want. It's just in my brain, it's not the same. Y'all know one thing that I hate right now? I hate watching NBA basketball and love it at the same time. Let me explain what I mean. I just like the competitiveness of it. But I hate let me get close and say this. I absolutely hate the style of play. The Boston Celtics missed 100 3-pointers in 2 games. Let me say it a little closer. In 2 games in the playoffs, the Boston Celtics missed 100 3-pointers. It's disgusting to watch. And I still watch it. But it is excruciating. If I could bring my wife in here to say, hey, babe, tell them how I be screaming at the TV, at every team. Listen, I'm a Sixers fan. But when I'm watching basketball, I'm screaming at every team. I was screaming at Karl Anthony Towns. All of them games where he won't playing big. He decided to start playing big the last couple games. But a lot of them games, he just hanging out at the 3-point line. I know you can shoot it, but dogs, go get busy. It's the same reason why they won Game 5. If Karl Anthony Towns was playing like that the entire series, what might happen? I'm sick of seeing all of these 3-point shots that everybody is taking, every position. Living and dying by the 3. Stop. And I know people want to blame Steph Curry for changing the game, but Steph actually can do it. He's an anomaly. He's one of those guys that can do it, but also people don't even pay attention to the complete game that Steph got. Steph also is an outstanding ball handler, passer, will drive to the cup. He's not just a 3-point shooter. He's just very good at doing it. But the game is completely different than it was in the 90s. So I have to acknowledge that, but I hate it. So that, with that being said, I don't compare what these players do and how they flop and all that. They all do it. So stop giving SGA so much hate. That boy is nice. The midi god. That boy be making some of the craziest mid-range shots. I mean, he falling down to the left and still hit. SGA is nice, in my opinion. So I kind of wouldn't mind seeing him get him one, right? Because I wanted to see OKC definitely against Minnesota, and now that they beat Minnesota, yeah, I like to see them get one, but I ain't going to be mad at the Pacers get one because guess what? I like the pace that them boys play with. I like the Halliburton that I've seen here lately in the last round. Pushing the tempo, trying to play like a superstar. I like that Tyrese Halliburton. And I just like that quick pace that they play with. Like they put pressure on a defense. So this is going to be, in my opinion, who knows how it's going to turn out, but I think it's going to be a great series to watch in terms of just young guns running. Maybe OKC might have I think they might have a little better defense. It's going to be interesting to see how the Pacers are able to defend like Chet and Hartenstein, especially if they run both of them at the same time. I like the scrappiness of Nembhard. Like, I like little scrappy dudes like that, man. I like effort. It's what I'm teaching my 11-year-old now. That effort. Love it. I like Neesmith. You know, it's going to be an interesting series, but I think I like OKC In a 7-game series, I could see OKC winning it. But I'm not sure, man, because the same thing that I want to say about OKC, you could kind of say it about the Pacers. If they get on a run, like the Pacers could very easily go up 20. So it's going to be a good one to watch. It's going to be a good one to watch. And even with that said, I hate the way current basketball is played. Hate it. But all right, what else y'all got? Anything else, guys? Yeah, and I don't think that's fair what they did to Tibbs, man. That's just my opinion. Come on, man. You ain't been to the conference finals in 20 plus years and you fired a dude, man. Like, and I get it. I get it. Tibbs runs his team to the ground. You could argue, there's things that you could argue against him, but at the same time, come on, man. That ain't right, bro. Like, I mean, at least give him one more shot. You know what I mean? He got further this season. Come on, man. And again, that's that stuff. That's that stuff. That's the stuff that I be talking about, folks. Like, again, I'm not comparing this, but that's what I be saying, right? It's like everybody, a lot of Steeler Nation always just fire Tomlin, right? But the reason why the Steelers have been in the know for so long is because of their consistency. Again, I agree with everybody else, man. It's time for us to get off of that. We got to win a playoff game and even get further in the playoffs. Come on, Mike T. Your glory days was a long time ago. I get all of that. I'm in agreement. But what I'm saying is, to me, what the Knicks just did is kind of like that continuous cycle, like those teams that just keep getting a new coach, you don't allow no consistency. I'm just never a fan of that. Like, y'all firing too fast. You could have gave Tibbs at least one more year. And again, I know if Knicks fans are probably like, no, get him out of here. But dog, I feel you, but you just played in the conference finals. I don't know. I don't know, man. Yeah, but it's all good. Now, I agree with what C.T. Pittman is saying. Tibbs is stubborn. Listen, he has warts. But, again, let me ask this question. Let's end it on this. Do y'all really think the New York Knicks, in your heart, do you really think they go further this past season with another coach? And as a non-Knicks fan, I won't answer that because I don't know. But I'm asking seriously. And even some other fans that want to chime in. Do you think that they go any further? C.T. Pittman says no matter what, they wasn't going to beat OKC. So this is my point. Brother Man says nope, Knicks wouldn't. Okay. Stankmar says yes. Okay. Walter Worthy says no. Brother Man said it had been over 25 years, so do the math. That's what I'm saying, man. That's all I'm saying. So to want to fire homie, even though he has warts, I'm just saying the man took you further than you had ever been in the last 25 years. So it to me is just hard to see somebody get fired after that, because to fire him after that is meaning that the organization thinks that another guy in that seat wins them a championship and or at least gets to the finals. So essentially you're saying he got fired because of the conference finals series. And that to me is where it's not fair. You firing that dude off of 6 games. Because again, the only other place you could have gone was to make it to the finals. So that is the message that you're saying is another guy gets us to the finals. So you're saying another coach, y'all guarantee win that series and would have got to the finals. And that's why I don't like it. It looks crazy. It just looks crazy. But anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. If y'all don't have anything else regarding the Steelers. Dr. Trey 88 said that's like the Eagles with Peterson. Yeah. They let Peterson on out of there. And the boy had just won them a Super Bowl too. But, at least they can look at it now and say, well, Sirianni got them one. Right? They can look at it that way. But remember, even in this past season, if I'm not mistaken, the Eagles mania was ready to fire him. But all right, man. Y'all know the routine, man. If you haven't already, boom. If you like the video, hit that like button. If you like the content, hit the subscribe button. And last but not least, you must turn on your notifications so you know when these videos are up and running. Outside of that, man, I hope you all have a great rest of the week. For you gamers out there, Madden 26 info will be revealed tomorrow. I'm sure I will do a video in regards to it. Smitty and I believe will be recording pre-recorded Sim Standard Power Hour tomorrow night, which will still premiere on Thursday. And I hope you guys enjoy the finals, man. Let's see how it goes. So by the time we talk again, I think, 2 games would be down at least. But yeah, man, so y'all know the routine, man. Until next time, guys, stay healthy, stay safe. God bless. Good night. And like always, I thank each and every one of you all for tuning in. And I shall catch y'all in the next one. Peace.